It's Chuck and Bob with your social media preview of a giant high school basketball weekend. We'll have a lot of games for you on TV 46, but we can't get to all of them, so we'll talk about some right now. Like one up in Michigan, the old rivals Brandywine and Buchanan getting together tomorrow night on the boys' side. They get together tonight on the girls' side. But when you take a look at Brandywine Buchanan, you're talking about two of the hotter teams in Southwest Michigan right now. Brandywine 17-1.
And how about the boys and girls combined? I mean, it's unbelievable, over 30 wins between the two teams. One of the things about this series with Buchanan and Brandywine is even if the teams were 0-18, this will be a heated rivalry. I mean, they get up for each other. So it'll be a good matchup, and I think both coaches are coming off of some streaks where they won, Brandywine's 5 in a row, and Buchanan had won 8 in a row. So, they're good teams and they're ready to play.
Yeah, I misspoke, by the way. They're only 14-1. I'm sure they'd love to be 17-1. But Brandywine really getting nice play out of Kendall Chrisman Jr. and then Jordan Abrams, who we talked about a little bit during football season. Meanwhile, Buchanan, you mentioned that 8-game winning streak they had snapped at the hands of Bridgman on Tuesday night, but they get some good play from Logan Carson, never trust a man with two first names, and Chris Young. So that should be a good one. And it's always a great atmosphere over with the Herd, where they are always up for some of the Fan of the Year awards in the Michigan High School Athletic Association. In Indiana, we'll start you off with Westview and Goshen on Friday night. Lots of Millers and Yoders and Hostetlers will be in the gym for this one. Charlie Yoder had his moment in the sun on Tuesday night. Number 5 for Westview, going over 2,000 points for his career. Now it's Daddy's turn on Friday night. Rob Yoder, the head coach of the Warriors, could pick up win number 300.
And it's an amazing run that he's had, and they've averaged, over 20 wins a season. And the thing is, coaching his son Charlie has been really special. And if you ask Coach, hey, you're going to hit 300 wins, it's not about me. It's about the team. It's about the assistant coaches he's had, and a great program. And they just, as you said, they'll show up big time for Friday night.
They have won 8 straight. They're 17-3, but they got to go to the land of Goshen, where the Redhawks typically play a little bit better than they do on the road. I know that Drew Hogan snapped it for 30 a couple of weeks ago against Lakeland in that gym. And even though they had that hot start, Michael Wolford's team has cooled off. They're 10-8, but again, playing at home, that could be a tough one for Westview.
Well, at the beginning of the season, if you'd told me that Goshen was going to be over 500, we've been really excited about how they're doing. We're good early in the season. They've kind of, people have gotten a scouting report on them. They know what Hogan and company are trying to do every game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Michael doesn't have the team up for a good matchup against Westview.
The NIC offers an interesting matchup at the Cave in Mishawaka on Friday night with John Glenn coming to town. The Falcons 14-6. We saw Travis Hanna's team a little bit earlier this season. Of course, they've got Rob Porter and Carter Young and company. And they gave St. Joe a heck of a battle at the Erie last week, losing just by 8.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good team and fundamentally sound, and they've got a good young player in Hannah inside. He's a quality young player. Mishawaka's still over 500, which is really impressive when you think about who they don't have. They've got a lot of football, track. They've got a lot of athletes who participate on their basketball team, but they don't have like that pure shooter. They don't have that great player. But Coach Ozinski doing a good job, and he gets the most out of those kids.
Yeah, Ron Heklinski doing another solid job there with a record of 10-9, and they have been awfully good inside the Cave. They are 8-2 at home this year, and this game happens to be in the Cave at Mishawaka. Wow, what a lineup we have for you this week on 46. Let's start you off with our Friday night boys game. The John Adams Eagles, they are still leading the pack in the Northern Indiana Conference. They come in with a record of 18-3. They've got all kinds of balance. They've got Quintez Columbus, and they've got Braden Saxton on the inside, and they've got Sidney Jeffries, 22, heating up from outside. And they go over to the south side of town to take on their longtime nemesis, the Riley Wildcats, with Blake Wesley, who had 35 points and 16 rebounds against Michigan City on Tuesday night.
And I would think that Adams probably going to say, hey, if he wants to get 35, that's fine. We just shut everybody else down. And it's been the supporting cast that has been quite as good as they have been in the last few years for Riley. One of the things about Adams, we saw them against St. Joe, when Adams, Columbus did a great job in the first half and was virtually unstoppable. So St. Joe makes some adjustments, and Jeffries and the rest of the company step up and they get it done. So they've got players, and they're a well-coached team with Chad Johnson doing a really good job with this Adams team. And again, Riley and Adams, you don't have to get too many people fired up for that game.
Riley is 11-9. They just have not been able to get over the hump against the really good teams this year. Maybe Friday night's the night. We'll see. We'll have it for you live on Facebook and YouTube at 7:45, and then, of course, on TV 46 Friday night 11, Saturday morning at 9. But that is just the start of our basketball weekend, because we have 2 girls semi-state games for you from LaPorte on Saturday. Let's start in Class 3A. 2 teams that are 26-3. Northwood taking on Benton Central. We went to the Northwood practice this week. We saw Maddie Payne. We saw Kate Ruley. And they're certainly huge on the post, no pun intended there for Northwood. But the guards stepped up big in the regional, and they got to keep it up here in the semi-state.
They really did. Minnick and company did a good job, and they scored the ball. At times that wasn't the biggest contribution they made. It was the defense that they imparted on the Marion Knights. Marion had 2 guards who can lead them in scoring in a given game and shut them both down to single figures. And the big girl inside for Marion was double teamed quite a bit in the ball game. So they got 2 bigs inside. They've got some quality depth on the outside, and it was a big difference maker for Northwood. Who'd have thought the Panthers would be the one that would get out of that sectional, but what a great job.
But, folks, let me give you a little warning here about Benton Central, because I know people up here in northern Indiana don't hear about them a whole lot. David Baxter's team went to the state finals last year. They're in the semi-state again this year. He's going for career win number 300. They've got some players, Audrey Strasma and Kelsey Kaufman, a couple of seniors who lead them in scoring. They've got a sophomore point guard by the name of Tressa Senesac. Fun to watch, and they're going to come at you. What's the line from Hoosiers you like to use? Bunch of mites, run you right off the boards? That sounds like Benton Central.
It does, and Senesac is not only, as you said, a really good player, sophomore, but she's an exceptional student athlete as well. So she's a good leader on that team, and somebody they can count on. And this Benton Central team has had a history of success getting to these points, but they had a little run-in this year with a team called Northwestern. We'll talk about them more in a moment, but this is a good matchup for Northwood, and I think Northwood has a chance to move on to the state final.
So that's live on YouTube and Facebook. Saturday at 1, we'll show it on TV 46 Saturday night at 7. That'll be immediately followed by the girls 4A semi-state. Penn, Christy Kineski, highest winning percentage of any coach in the state of Indiana. Boys, girls, doesn't matter. She's got 2-time MVP in the NIC with Trinity Clinton. She's got Caitlin Costner, a D1 recruit. She's got Reagan Pate, the number 1 3-point shooter in the state of Indiana. And they are still an underdog to the number 1 ranked and undefeated Northwestern Tigers.
Hey, the good news, the players you mentioned for Penn are all healthy now, and they went through a tough time during the regular season and lost a total of 3 games during 2 games in the course of the regular season. And here they are, as you said, the underdog. But one of the things about Christy Kineski and the way she coaches, this team will not go into that game with any kind of fear of Northwestern. They respect them certainly, but this is a team that is very confident in how they operate defensively. They're very confident in how they run their offense and the opportunity to get good shots. When they get good shots, this team has a lot of good shooters.
But, folks, let me tell you about the Northwestern Tigers. They're undefeated. No team in the state of Indiana has come within double digits of them this year. They've got not 1, but 2 Big Ten recruits. They've got Madison Layden. She's the number 2 scorer in the state of Indiana. They've got Kendall Bostic. She scores over 20 points a game. Then don't forget about people like Claire Merrill and Sarah Heaver and the freshman Bostic that they have. I mean, this team, I love my history in the state of Indiana basketball. I think of East Chicago, Washington of 1971 as the number 1 boys team ever, perhaps. This may rival on the girls' side.
Well, they've been so dominant, and with the class basketball, we've seen this out of the team from Michigan City that it seemed like they could roll over anybody. But Northwestern has everything, as you said. One of the things about them too is they have Coach Layden, who has won state championships. And
She's the Phil Jackson of girls basketball. She got 3-peat at Tri-Central. She's looking for another one.
yeah, you know, if you're talking about maybe is this the game with the two best head coaches in the state, I think it probably is. And they've all got rings, and they've all got sights set on getting to the state championship.
Man, she's trying to get more rings than the Olympic flag, and we'll have that one for you Saturday live on YouTube and Facebook at 4, and then Saturday night on TV 46 at 9. So big weekend. We hope you're with us for all of it. For Bob Nagel, Chuck Freeby, thanks for joining us here on social media.